Hi there. I'm Dr. Ken Hager, and I'm the current president of the Mid-Atlantic Germanic Society. That's MAGS for short. It's my purpose here to give you a very brief introduction to the MAGS Society, who we are, what we do. And then please stay tuned because we have some expert speakers, people who make a better presentation than I do, giving you a lot more information about the value of partnering with MAGS and being a MAGS member. Okay. First thing, of course, we want to talk about MAG's mission. What's our purpose? It's fairly close to what you would expect from a genealogical society. We help people find documents to research their family. We provide educational opportunities to learn about new records and acquire new research skills. We like to have a lot of hands-on workshops and work with people so that they can learn about what they need to do and with somebody there to help them so that when they go out on their own, they're good to go. We share information members discover while undertaking their own research projects. MAGS has a good communication network, and we share as much as we possibly can. Okay. The key point to say next is don't let our name keep you away from MAGS. Many people see the words Mid-Atlantic and they just walk away. Oh, I'm from Ohio. I don't have anybody who lives in the Mid-Atlantic. Please don't do that. Okay. Now, the following is true. As our logo down in the corner illustrates, MAGS concentrates on telling stories of German Americans in the Mid-Atlantic region, from New York City to Wilmington, North Carolina. And currently, the members of the executive board live in Central Maryland and Northern Virginia. So that's our MAGS piece. But there's so much more to MAGS. We have a dedicated core of members engaged in discovering new records. We provide information about that records, and we identify access points in the records, file title lists, name searchable data sets. And one of the things I want to point out to you is because of where we're located, we take advantage of our location. We're very close to the National Archives of the United States. That's NARA, the National Archives Administration. And MAGS members have a lot of connections to NARA. We have people who have done extensive research projects in NARA. We have people who have volunteered to be part of the Genealogy Volunteer Corps at the National Archives. And we have people who worked at the National Archives for a long time. Full disclosure, I was a NARA employee for 35 years. So we've been able to take advantage to the proximity we have to NARA and to use the connections to find what we consider underutilized records for genealogy based on our own research, working with researchers, and what we know about the records from having worked there and done research. One of the things that we like to talk about are the records of the Department of State. We talk a lot about records of American consulates and legations overseas. Just as importantly, we talk about records that the foreign nations have in the United States of America. So that when we talk about records relating to Germany and records of the Department of State, we're not just talking about the records that the United States kept overseas in Germany, but also the records of the German consulates and the German legation in Washington, D.C. We also talk about State Department correspondence files. So the Department of State is often corresponding with the Department of War, the Department of Treasury, the Department of the Interior, the Pension Bureau, about your ancestry. And we talk a lot about those. Now, because the Department of State is so huge, what MAGS has done is we've focused on the area of particular interest to people who have German ancestry. So that means that we focus on records from the Habsburg Empire, from Austria, later Austria-Hungary, Germany, that's all the German states, Bavaria, Baden-Württemberg, Saxony, Prussia, and then, of course, the German Empire after 1871, Grand Duchy of Luxembourg, Switzerland, and then we also focus on the Netherlands. So if you have ancestors from any of those people, any of those places, if you have ancestors who travel back to those places to visit family or on vacation, please be sure to contact MAGS because we have some great indexes to help you find the information. Okay. There's our research focus. See, I spoke ahead of a slide there. We also have a lot of information about pensioners. We have information about Pension Bureau correspondence, Pension Bureau reports to Congress, the Pension Appeals case files, and the records of the National Home for Disabled Volunteer Soldiers. So many Americans have people who served in the military, War of 1812, Mexican War, the American Civil War, the Spanish-American War. So if you've got an ancestor who served in the military as a volunteer soldier, the regular Army, the Navy, the U.S. Marine Corps, even the Coast Guard, the Revenue Cutter Service, you might want to talk to MAGS to see what we have available on your ancestor. Okay. We have other offerings that MAGS offers. We have 2 conferences a year. We have nationally known speakers who present to MAGS. We offer 2 hands-on workshops each year, about the same time that we offer the conferences. We're experimenting with having a 3rd one. Keep your ear to the ground. We also have a quarterly 40-page journal with cutting-edge research articles. And for those of you who look at it online, it's filled with color illustrations. So it's not just informative, it's always interesting to look at. And we have a great website. Our website contains useful information to guide your research. We have information sheets, we have bibliographies, we have links to other resources, we have timelines. Hang tight, we have someone who's expert with our website who's going to speak to you. Carol knows a lot more about the ins and outs of the website than I do, so you can look forward to hearing what she has to say. Okay. This is an example of the title page from Der Courier, our award-winning journal. As you can see, it's got lots of articles. It's got color that we're talking about. The very first thing we were talking about there is an article, a reference to someone who works at the National Archives who wrote a fantastic article for us. There's another article down there about Civil War soldiers and how to illustrate that how you can work on your ancestor. That is a snippet of a picture, a postcard from the dining hall of the National Home for Disabled Volunteer Soldiers in Dayton, Ohio. This is an example to tease you of a project that we have underway. We mentioned earlier about State Department records. One of the things I learned from being an academic was that putting together these posters can give you a really nice boom, flashy way of looking at posters. So what we've done is we've looked at over 400 boxes and volumes of records that the Frankfurt am Main consulate created relating to American foreign policy. And what we discovered is that they're filled with information about Americans. That we could see along the bottom, there are registrations of American soldiers, lists and documents relating to assistance of American soldiers, just American citizens in general. So that could be someone who ran out of money and needed help getting a ticket home, someone who ran into trouble with the local authorities. What we find is that people came to the United States really young, went back to visit their families when they're in their 30s, and suddenly somebody, it was a knock at the door, and the local officials would say, "Excuse me, our records indicate that you did not serve in the military, therefore you were under arrest for evasion of military service." There are hundreds of those guys that happened to. In the Frankfurt records, they're documented. There are death reports. If you have an ancestor who died overseas, take a look at these. As an aside, every once in a while, one of us will check to see the new death reports that we're finding, index them through Ancestry, and what we found is that because of the quirky way the Department of State reported deaths overseas, they're not always in a place that Ancestry has found. So check, if you don't find them in Ancestry, be sure to check MAGS. We have estate and case files. The estate files for Frankfurt are really rich, and marriage certificates. There are thousands of marriage certificates in these consular records. If you look at the map, this project, the colored area is the place that was responsible for the Frankfurt am Main Consulate General. All the little colored ones are the consulates that reported to Frankfurt am Main. If you look at that, what is that? That's at least a third of the German Empire. So you might want to take a look at this. It's our goal to put this online, to put the indexes that we've done and the guides at the end of this calendar year. So keep in touch with us and see how we're going with that. This is an example of the kinds of work that we do to put together a piece of your ancestry story. This is a widow woman whose husband served in the American Civil War. She went back to Germany and spent the rest of her life there. That was, she lived in Magdeburg. She was from that area to return to live with the family. And if you look at this, what we've got is a whole selection of documents and postcards. That's the kinds of hands-on things that we like to do with MAGS. And if you look at this, you can take a closer look. We're going to have a copy of this at the conference. If you look at this, you've got all sorts of documents. You have documents that come from the German legation in Washington, D.C. That's where the story starts. We have correspondence from the Department of State to the German legation in Washington, D.C. There's correspondence from the Pension Bureau about this. There's correspondence from the consulate in Magdeburg to the Department of State giving a report. There's a report from the Department of the Interior to the Department of State about this. There are letters from the consulate in Magdeburg to Bertha Kruger. So you can see what MAGS does is starting to index all of these, and then using MAGS data sets and talking to MAGS members, you can start to link records from lots of different series to put your story together. Okay. So keep listening to this. Upcoming in this presentation, we're going to have highlights of MAGS data sets and projects. We have a really good presentation on that. We also have the key points of research tools on the MAGS website. So listen to what we have to say here, please. Stop by the booth and talk to us if you have any questions. We have some great giveaways for you. There'll be MAGS members at the conference. We look forward to meeting with you and talking to you. MAGS membership is really cheap right now. It's a whopping $15 a year. So as German Americans, you know, we're always looking for a bargain. So thanks for listening. Keep listening to what the next speakers have to say, and we look forward to working with you. Bye-bye.